Hey guys, Tisha here, and we're back for something a little different. We're going to be discussing the book, Becoming Sister Wives, or reading it. I have not quite decided yet, but for today, we're going to read a little bit of it. And for those of you who get tired of my voice, I apologize in advance. But I feel like the best way to begin is to at least get an intro. And our intro is going to be from Cody, which is ironic. I read like the first 2 pages before I came on camera just to see like what the vibe of the book is. And I have to admit that Cody sounds intelligent in the beginning of the book. So when you first open up the book, one of the things that I noticed is that there is this brown family tree. And I said, okay, let's put things into perspective and look at the timeline of this family to kind of get an idea of the way things started. So there was Cody and Mary, who were married in 1990. Then Janelle and Cody were married in 1993. After that, Christine and Cody got married in 1994, and shortly after, Logan was born in 1994. We then have Leon, Madison, and Aspen, all born in 95, McKelty 96, Hunter 97, Garrison and Peyton 98. Then Dayton was 2000. Gabrielle and Gwendolyn are 2001. Aurora 2022. Isabel 2003. Brianna and Savannah were 2004. Truly 2010. We know he also got married to Robin in 2010, and then they had Solomon at this time in 2011. When the book was written, Ariella was not born, so she is not mentioned, I don't think, in this book. I want you guys to keep in mind that when we are considering how these children are treated by Cody presently, how some of their ages are extremely close together, yet there is a clear difference in how they're treated. Perfect example of that would be Solomon and Truly, because there is, I know it's over a year, but it's less than 2 years difference between the two of them. So the fact that they're treated differently can't help but show Cody's favoritism. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading. I may interject here and there, but we're going to see how far we get for our first review of the book, I guess. So this is Cody. I'm sitting in a room off of the Grand Ballroom in Beverly Hills Hilton. I almost can't believe I'm here. I'm a small town boy, not some Hollywood superstar. This glittering place is far cry from my current townhome in Lehi, Utah. The occasion is the Television Critics Association biannual press tour, at which networks announce their fall lineup of television shows to the media. On stage, they're playing a clip from a new show on the Discovery Channel. It's about Greenpeace crusaders who are devoted to saving whales. It's a hippie version of the channel's smash hit Deadliest Catch. This is the kind of show that the critics are expecting, the kind of show guaranteed to draw attention without polarizing the audience. My show is a lot more controversial. It's the first of its kind, like the Greenpeace activists on stage. I, too, am taking a stand. But I have no idea how my fight will play out in the court of public opinion. I have no idea how critics, the audience, and the American public are going to react to me. I'm getting nervous. I'm sitting in the chair getting my hair and makeup done. Makeup. I grew up on a ranch in rural Wyoming. I never, ever thought I'd wear makeup, let alone have a team of people applying it, making sure I'm camera ready. The stylist asked me casually, "So, what's your show about?" Do y'all think that the stylist already knew what the show was about, or do you think this was really the stylist wanting to know what the show was about? "Oh," I say, trying to be as offhanded as possible. "It's about my family. I'm a polygamist, and I have 4 wives." The stylist stops fussing with me for a second. I can see the shock in her eyes. I know what she's thinking. I'm an average-looking dude who's more like a surfer than a religious fanatic. How could I be a polygamist? After I'm done with hair and makeup, I'm ushered backstage with my wives. We wait anxiously as the 120-second teaser for our show plays on the big screen in the auditorium. They've added some pumping music to the trailer, trying to infuse my family's life with tension and intrigue. My heart begins to pound. I'm breathing shallowly. What have I done? I'm about to expose my family to the world. I'm about to do the very thing most polygamous families live in fear of. I'm about to go public. I wonder if he was really genuinely in fear of his family being separated by going public, or if he was more in fear of the scrutiny that came from them going public, because, which we're still reading, so I don't know if he talks about it yet. I don't really know where he stood on that. I know what he's presented, but I don't know where he stood. I know that I'm putting my family at risk. My wives and I could lose our jobs. Our children could be tormented at school, but I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of living like a second-class citizen. I'm tired of lying about my life. I have a wonderful family, a perfectly happy family. Well, we know that was a lie. I'm just saying. We know that's a lie. Perfectly happy family. Okay, that's our story. All right. I'm tired of lying about my life. I have a wonderful family, a perfectly happy family, with beautiful wives and beautiful children. I don't want us to live the rest of our days in fear. I'm about to ask America to accept us. I grasp my wife's hands in an informal prayer circle. We draw strength from one another and from our faith in God. We renew our commitment to our beliefs. I steady myself. The world is ready. I think to hear our story. The world is ready to accept us for who we are and not shun us for our beliefs. I drop my wife's hands and we are called to the stage. I'm intrigued. What about you guys? Are you intrigued? I hope y'all are liking this, because I don't know if y'all want to sit here and listen to me read and not even give you any type of eye contact, but we're going to keep going. Let me introduce you to the real face of polygamy. When people hear the phrase Mormon fundamentalists, they probably think about a small subset of our population, the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. For too long, this organization and the handful of abusive men who ran it have been the poster children of polygamy in America. Until recently, the FLDS was run by Warren Jeffs. Now, y'all know we are going to hear about Warren Jeffs in some part of this family story, because they always use this as the go-to. And I get they were heavily publicized, but they really, really talk about Warren Jeffs, who has been found guilty of child sexual assault and is now serving a life sentence in prison. He ruled his organization with an iron fist, creating a climate rampant with abuse and fear. He not only tolerated, but also promoted child brides. He reassigned the wives of men he deemed unworthy to new husbands. These are not my beliefs. This is not my world. While we share belief in the principle of celestial plural marriage, I want to make it clear that the practices of the FLDS have no place in my universe. We belong to a different religious community, one that has several thousand members worldwide. In our faith, incest and spousal abuse are serious crimes, which, when discovered, result in immediate legal action. I'm sure when most people think of Mormon fundamentalists, they think of long, modest dresses, old-fashioned hairstyles, something you might see in an old Western movie. This only covers a fraction of polygamists. If we weren't on TV, you wouldn't be able to pick my family out of the crowd. Now, that part is true. We dress like anyone else, maybe a tiny bit more modestly, but definitely modernly. Our kids go to public school, they watch TV, go to the movies, play computer games, go to parties, and listen to popular music. They play sports, wear makeup, sometimes too much for my liking, and participate in school activities. Basically, my family is not at all that different from yours. Our sect is one of the more liberal branches of the Mormon fundamentalists. Unlike some of other fundamentalist Mormons, we accept the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as a legitimate faith. We follow the same scriptures they do. In most belief practices, we differ a little from the LDS Church. Okay, so if they accepted that church, then why didn't they go to that church while in Vegas? Was there not that type of church out there? Why did they continue to have meetings in their home when they did practice some of the following of the LDS Church? Of course, the one area in which we do diverge is our belief in the doctrine of celestial plural marriage, which we call the principle. Although not every member of our faith enters into a plural marriage, we still believe that it is a crucial step in our personal spiritual development. Celestial plural marriage isn't something we take lightly or take for granted. It's a calling, something we are summoned to by God. Ooh. It's a commandment in our scripture, fundamental to our belief system. Its intention and design is specific to our personal development and spiritual growth. Not all people in our sect enter into polygamy despite their belief in the doctrine. Some never find the right partners with whom to live the principle. However, when the opportunity for plural marriage is placed before us and when we are called to it, it seems wise to accept. I don't know how I feel about that. Not the calling part, because I do believe that some people are called to be in a certain faith. I feel like when I was going to Seventh-day Adventist Church that I was going as a formality, and once I started going to a non-denominational church, I felt that that was where I needed to be. But I don't know if I was called to be there, because sometimes the word calling to me gets used in the wrong way, because we confuse emotions with what a higher power is pouring into us. Just my thoughts. You all let me know yours. Religion is by nature elitist. Everyone wants to believe that his way is the right way. That's true. Too many people believe, regardless of their faith, are small-minded enough to imagine that their beliefs, their doctrines, and their rituals are the only way to be saved or to know God. I personally don't feel that way. I'm not self-centered enough to entertain these thoughts. Okay. In no way do I imagine that my family members are the only people who got it right. Okay, Cody. See, this version of Cody, I don't know when the book was written. This version of Cody was smart. What happened? He sounds intelligent here. God speaks. That sounds kind of messed up. God speaks to us, to each of us in his own way. He calls a person in that person's language and reaches individuals in terms they will understand. What I'm called to do is not what you are called to do. I don't consider followers or of another religion any less worthy in God's eyes or in mine. I don't believe that's what's appropriate for one person is necessarily appropriate for all. The principle is my calling. It's probably not yours, and that's fine with me. I agree. The principle of plural marriage is sacred to me and to all fundamentalist Mormons. It's not something I've come to casually or flippantly. I don't know. Because I think some of Cody's struggles were not necessarily that I think that Cody thought when he was younger that polygamy was the way for him, but because I don't think he was truly called to it, like he likes to say, I think this is verbiage that he was accustomed to hearing, and as a result, he went with it. But I think that it became something else for Cody. Just my personal beliefs. It's not easy, and it's not something I recommend to anyone who is not prepared for the challenges. Building a complex family from 4 separate marriages has its challenges. My wives and I have had to learn to be understanding, kind, compassionate, and patient. That went all out the window. Is he understanding, kind, compassionate, and patient? To Robin maybe, but he hasn't been kind, so I don't know. We have had to develop ourselves morally and ethically. The demands on a plural family are far greater than those on a monogamous couple. Since we have to consider the sensitivity of other wives and other marriages on an everyday basis, plural marriage consistently challenges us. It makes us confront our shortcomings and overcome them. We have to learn to handle our jealousy, contain our aggression. We have to check our selfishness. There is no room for ego in plural marriage. There is no room for ego in plural marriage here. But in the tell-all with Suki, he very much so said something about how most plural men have an ego, including himself. But here you are saying there's no ego, room for ego in plural marriage. So Cody very much so, I think, was part of the problem. Well, shoot, we all probably think that. Although we know these things, we are by no means perfect. Each member of my family has his or her own flaws. Every day, we must work toward a higher level of communication with one another. In the end, our acceptance of the doctrine of plural marriage allows us to transcend our limitations and become enlightened. It challenges us to be the best version of ourselves in this lifetime. I know people probably misinterpret what I do. They probably think I'm wife hoarding, that I'm satisfying my carnality at the expense of my wife's feelings, which he did, because he did become very carnal when it came to Robin. Watch how he interacts with Robin, how he pulls her in, how he kisses her, how he just seems to be more in tune with her, and he always wants to reach out and touch her. I know there are people out there who'd assume I'm some kind of macho pig. While this couldn't be further from the truth, I understand that this misconception comes from the perceived imbalance in the practice. Why can I have multiple wives yet my wives cannot have multiple husbands? In the first place, that is not our commandment. Second, when my wives are asked if they would take a second husband, they answer not interested. Perhaps there are people out there for whom taking plural husbands is a viable lifestyle. Perhaps there is a religion where this is a sacred way of life, but this is not our faith. Each of my wives has come into our family of their own free will. Choosing to join plural marriage family has been their choices, their preferences. It's something they've prayed over, they've sought out on their own volitions. Believe it or not, some of them made the first move, asking to join my family even before I proposed. Or as he likes to put, Christine begged to be a part of the family. Look how that changed. Asking to be versus now, here we are seasons later, and it's begged to be. When I say I love each of my wives wholly, passionately, and eternally, I'm telling the truth. Are you? Are you, Cody? Are you telling the truth? Because you have told us that you don't love Christine, and you told Mary you don't love her either. You said you were never in love with them. And you don't currently love Janelle. So were you passionately and wholly and eternally in love with them? Interesting. I believe that with each of my wives, I share a destiny, and that together, we 5 adults were predetermined to be family. We believe on a very deep level that we belong together in an absolute fashion. We are meant to be. You believed this. I just don't understand how a man can go from saying that he felt like he was eternally bonded with these women and that they were always supposed to be his wives and they were always supposed to be family, to we're not family. I don't even want to go on a vacation with you for the sake of our kids. Or I don't want to forgive and reconcile with you for the sake of our kids. How did it get to this point? So how can I love 4 women? It's a fair question and an easy one to answer. Loving them is simple. It's like breathing, waking up in the morning, putting one foot in front of the other. It's one of those things you do unconsciously, something so deeply ingrained into your psyche and your way of being that you never questioned it. It's hard to explain how I love my wives to someone who's not inside the principle. The simplest analogy is of a mother who's pregnant with her second child and worries that she will not love this one as much as she loved her first. Okay, somebody helped him with this. He did not come up with this. It's an honest fear. But on the day her new baby is born, she loves it as much as her firstborn. She loves it independently of her firstborn. She loves both of her children because they are her children, but she loves them individually for their different qualities. She loves one because he's a remarkable athlete, but she doesn't love him any less because he's a terrible student, even as she loves the other for her sense of humor and her scholarly habits. It's the same with my wives, but on a much more intimate level. I love them for different reasons, for their different strengths and their different passions and talents. I love them for their weakness and their humanity, but I don't love one more or less than the others. Okay, that was a really good analogy comparison, like to talk about how a parent loves all of their children. They don't love any child less than the other. Now here's my thing on that. I only have one child, so I can't speak to it. My father will say that he loves all of us the same, but if you ask me, I'm his favorite. I feel like I'm his favorite. I'm the firstborn. So I feel like there's a different type of connection there. You say what you want to say, but I feel like I'm his favorite. But this was a good point, and somebody gave him that. Cody did not come up with that on his own. Being in love with four women is easy, but not easy at the same time. Since my wives are so different from one another and so independent, you heard that, they were independent even as early on as they wrote this book. But he didn't have a problem with it back then. It only became a problem later on in life. Each of my marriages is distinct and each is dynamic in its own way. I can't always pinpoint the moment I fell in love with each of my individual wives, and I don't always feel that love all the time. Oh, yeah, we know you don't feel that love all the time, but the love is so deep, I can't imagine being without it. Well, how does it feel now? Our bond is the kind of thing you know you need for the rest of your life. Not in a codependent way, but in a way that bonds us so deeply that when I have been away from anyone wife too long, I feel an emotional ache. To be honest, I am not sure if any one of my wives could fulfill all my needs, nor do I believe that I'm fulfilling theirs. I'll be honest, I think that he felt that way until Robin came along, because Robin, well, she's not really that great of a cook, but Robin has managed to fulfill a good amount of them. Well, no, never mind. She can't fill all of them because she don't know about finances and all that other stuff. All she knows about is hiring nannies. That was a little shady. Janelle and I could talk business. With Christine, I can enjoy the lightness of being together. With Mary, the world is structured and organized. Her house is peaceful and in order. When Robin came into the family, she brought about an emotional honesty that required me to start dealing with things I avoided. I don't think that it was a matter of Robin bringing about an emotional honesty. I think that that was a great way for him to talk about how Robin brings out his romantic side because he fell in love with Robin. His feelings for Robin are different. You talking about how you love your women, and you're talking about how you love the business side of Janelle. That's not something that I would want you to describe as a reason why you love me. Or I wouldn't like for you to talk about how with Mary, she's structured and organized. You can talk about how my home is peaceful, but one of the reasons why Mary's home was peaceful was because she didn't have all those kids. So these are things to think about. Watch how someone describes how they love you. It's very telling that that was his description. A lot of people wonder if there's a plan or a system for taking a new wife. If there is, I've yet to see it. The only requirement is that I have a spiritual connection with the woman I'm considering courting, and that she feel connected, not only to me, but also to my family. In some cases in our faith, the woman makes the first move. If she feels drawn to a certain family or a man, she can make her interest known through her father. But she must be willing to join herself not only to her potential husband, but also to his wives. Of course, a man must have the permission of his wives to consider a courtship. After all, the woman he wishes to court is going to be as much a part of his wives' lives as she will be of his. If my wives didn't want me to pursue a relationship with someone, I have no choice but to obey their wishes. My first duty is to them. He had no choice but to obey their wishes. But if the wives weren't okay with it, he would have a problem. Because Christine kind of made it known that she had a problem with it. And I don't think she wanted to say yes, but I think she felt forced to say yes. Because she knew what would come with it if she didn't. I married my first wives relatively quickly and relatively young by conventional standards, if not those of our faith. Each relationship developed along in its own lines for its own reasons with its own trajectory. After 16 years together as a family, I found myself in a position to pursue a new courtship. I was surprised by this, as my wives were, and I knew it would involve a serious adjustment on their part. If I hadn't had their blessing, I don't think you really had it, I'd never have gone forward with courting Robin. Family always comes first. You didn't get their blessing before you started courting Robin. You all said that basically in different parts of the series. Like, we know that you and Mary met Robin first, and Christine and Janelle didn't meet her until until several months after you were already seeing her. So, what are you talking about? Standing backstage in Los Angeles, I'm growing nervous. I know that when I go public, there will be questions about sex. It's America's obsession after all. I wasn't obsessed with their sex life. I'll be honest, that was the last thing I was thinking about. I think that because they get so, like, when somebody mentions it, that it causes people to want to talk about it more. They could have easily shut it down by just saying, yes, we have intimacy with one another, not with each other. So Cody sleeps with his wives don't sleep with each other, and then that would have been the end of it. Even though my show is a family television program on a family-oriented network, the world wants to know what goes on behind closed doors. All I'm going to say is my marriages aren't different from anyone else's in that respect. As in most relationships, passion is always there, but it waxes and wanes. With each wife, we go through phases. There are the demands of work and kids, all the regular things that interfere with couples' private life. It goes in accordance to how Cody's feeling, because we've already been told by both Mary and by Christine that at times he would withhold intimacy from them. The one constant is that I keep my 4 marriages distant and discreet. There is no overlap, no sharing, nothing untoward or salacious. In other words, they're not having threesomes. There are many beliefs and blessings to our lifestyle. We are a large family, and not one of us will ever know loneliness again. Wow. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I think I'm talking too much. I want to see what y'all think about this first one, because I wanted to read the whole... Oh, okay, let me finish. We're on page 9 and it stops at 11. So I'm going to finish at least this part, and then we'll discuss. We are a team of a strong foundation on which we've raised our children. My wives support one another. They can lean on one another for small favors and for large ones. Our biggest struggles have been financial. There have been lean times. It took me longer than I hoped to establish myself in a career, especially with wives to support. Of course, all my income goes to the family. I try my best to allocate money evenly and according to who needs it most. If a wife needs a bigger car, she's expecting a new child, I prioritize that. If another wife needs help completing a major home repair, this takes precedence over something more trivial. All of my wives contribute significantly to both their individual households and the family as a whole. Before we went public, several of them worked full-time. They support their kids, and what is left over, they kick into large group expenses such as mortgages. Now, that's not true, because We already know Janelle told us in season 1 that her and Cody pay the mortgage. Mary told us in season 1 that she pays the utilities, some of the utilities, and Janelle and Cody pay the mortgage. So why is he now sitting up here saying that they pay the mortgages? Is he saying that that's what happened in season 6 when they got these homes? Because they didn't have multiple mortgages until they got those homes. And if I remember correctly, each wife was responsible at that time for her own. If one of my wives chooses not to work in order to stay home and look after her kids, I make sure she is taken care of. If another wife makes a bundle while her sister wife is looking after kids, she will share her bounty. That more so is talking about the dynamic of Christine, Janelle, and Mary. That doesn't have anything to do with Robin. If someone has a windfall from tax returns or inheritance, then she usually shares a good portion of it. That's in reference to Janelle. Because from what I understand, Janelle had an inheritance and Janelle shared it. This wasn't fair. Although my wives are fiercely independent and entirely self-sufficient, they never let anyone go without. We are a family of equal rights. Oh, a family of equals. Look at me adding words. I want to stress that equality and fairness are our guiding principles. That's where he messed up. Since there is only one of me and 4 of them, I am often considered the patriarch. Unfortunately, this world has acquired a negative connotation these days. I'm appealed to on a regular basis simply because I'm the common denominator. I'm the basic element that my wives and children share. I'm a father to all the children and a husband to all my wives. Despite this, I rarely make unilateral decisions. If asked, I will choose the direction in which the train runs, but my wives are the ones who keep it on the track and running. They are the force behind our family. I know the world wants definitions to understand us. They want to know who is the smart wife, who is the homemaker, who is the silly one, who is the mean one. But I won't let my family be pigeonholed. Our relationships are complex and they are constantly evolving. Ours is a process that elevates us and allows us to abide in God's presence. I have a goal in mind of what my family is supposed to be and look like. It's supposed to be happy and peaceful and free. Didn't happen. I imagine a unity that comes from joy, not from overwhelming sacrifice or pain, anguish or suffering, which is everything that Christine experienced. Maybe some of the other wives at different points, but Christine verbalized that she was experiencing this throughout their marriage. I don't want my family to suffer for the sake of God. They didn't suffer for the sake of God. They suffer for the sake of you. Because if we are suffering for the sake of God in this life, we may not be happy with him in the next one. Privately, we've arrived at this unity, this peace, but publicly, we are still subjective to prejudice. Privately, you haven't arrived at that. I think that they suppress their feelings. We are misunderstood. We are outsiders. And this is what has brought me here to Beverly Hills. This is why we are about to show our faces to the world and to announce that we are polygamists and we are proud. I never want my children to live in fear. I never want them to be forced to deny any part of themselves. I want them to live openly as siblings. I don't know whether my children will enter into the principle. They didn't. I don't know whether they will live the life of polygamy. I don't think they will. Someone will be called to it and others won't. Some will be called to it and others won't. But regardless of their choices, I want their world to be more free and understanding place for them to grow up in. I want them to feel safe in their family, and if they choose polygamy for their future, I want them to do so knowing that they will not be treated as second-class citizens. What we do with our bodies and our hearts is the most important choice of all. My heart is pounding as I step onto the stage. I can feel the smile plastered on my face, that cheesy Cody grin. It's my defense mechanism, this silly grin. There's a sea of faces in the auditorium. The audience is silent. I can't tell what they're thinking. I feel the smile slip from my face. My heart is in my mouth. Suddenly, the audience begins to clap. I feel the atmosphere begin to warm. I sense that they are drawn to us. I think they are ready to hear our story. That's a good opening. So, we have finished Cody's little intro. How do y'all feel about this? Am I taking too long? Because I see I'm about to be 35 minutes in. I know I'm stopping and adding commentary and things of that nature. Do you like that? Would you prefer for me to summarize? Please, 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 for those of you who are watching this, let me know what you think. I'll be honest. I kind of want to keep reading. I'm one of those people who, once I get started with a book, that stop and start sometimes for me is problematic, which makes me think that I may approach this where we do like a chapter at a time or something. I want to see what the page amounts are, because that right there, what I just did, that was 11 pages. And so it took us 35 minutes to get through 11 pages. That's not real life for me. I normally go faster than that. So maybe, I'm looking at this. It looks like it's about 15 pages for each. Okay, maybe we can do chapters at a time and go through it. I don't know. I'm sitting here talking like you guys are responding to me right now when you're going to respond later. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see how this goes. I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say. If you're reading along with me, pardon me as I stumble over words. Sometimes, for those of you who do not know, my family is, I don't want to give too much of my business out. We'll say that my family is from overseas, and as a result, sometimes when I look at words, I have to remind myself how they're pronounced in America, because my first inclination is to pronounce certain things the way that I heard them pronounced in my home, or how I was told to speak. So if I stumble, don't judge me. It's all love over here. If I skip over it, or if I just spell it out because I'm not quite certain of how to say it, then that's just what it is. But I'm just making you all aware. Let me know how you guys feel. I'm rambling at this point. Until next time.